Ryan Garcia is right about Terence Crawford. What's up, everyone? We got the boxing narrative. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into it. So, Ryan Garcia put out a tweet pretty much saying how Terence Crawford never challenged himself and he retired without really cementing his legacy as like one of the best boxers of all time. And Ryan Garcia is correct. Alright, this is the uncomfortable truth about Terence Crawford and what Terence Crawford fanboys don't want to talk about, or even just the mainstream media. Because the Ring magazine is definitely gonna push down Terence Crawford as the best boxer of all time and such. The uncomfortable truth is, did Terence Crawford ever challenge himself? Now, the main thing people are gonna say is, "Oh, Canelo, he went up two weight divisions and fought and beat the bigger man." Again, I already proved that. Well, I already showed that I picked Crawford to win all that time. Why did I pick Crawford to win? Because Canelo is washed. I mean, even if you believe Canelo wasn't so washed, we all watched that William Skull fight. We all saw how bad that fight was. We all saw how bad Canelo performed in that fight. So if you're coming off a performance like that, how do you believe that that was the same Canelo fighting Gennady Golovkin and all that type of stuff? It just wasn't the same guy. And even then, Canelo hasn't had a real fight or like, yeah, Canelo hasn't challenged himself since the Golovkin fight. So I mean, that's another fighter that didn't even challenge himself as well. So the Canelo fight, he didn't challenge himself. He just fought a guy who was on his way out, and he was the same size as him. All right, Canelo. Let's not get this BS narrative that Canelo was so much bigger than Crawford. They were about the same size. What did Crawford challenge himself? Did Crawford challenge himself when he fought Madrimov? Well, maybe. That was the first time Crawford ever fought a guy who was relatively the same size, who was in his prime, younger in his prime, not weight drained or anything. So that Madrimov legitimately could have been the first time Crawford challenged himself for real. And how do we remember that fight? Crawford squeaked out a decision. I do think Crawford won that fight, but that was like a 7-5 fight. Alright, Crawford didn't dominate Madrimov. Again, that was the first time Crawford ever fought a guy younger than him in his prime, who wasn't weight drained, who wasn't, you know, compromised or anyway. A fight just before that against Earl Spence. Earl Spence was weight drained throughout his mind, you know. Not even bringing up the car crash, alright? I don't care about the car crash, alright? I'm talking about he was weight drained, which is something that most people don't talk about. Earl Spence was weight drained that fight. And then what else? When did Crawford supposedly challenge himself? Against Gamboa, where Crawford was, I think, 158 pounds at fight night against Little Gamboa, who was coming off of a gift decision win, who was coming off a year layoff. Was that a challenge? What else? Victor Postal, when he just ran around the ring the whole time and they gave him a gift decision. You know, the crowd was booing him and all that. Where else did Crawford challenge himself? When Crawford went up to 54, I remember saying there was legit no chance that Crawford could cherry pick because all the guys were there were young, they were undefeated. Sure, they had, well, not all undefeated, but they had flaws, but they had also very big strengths that Crawford had never seen before. And I said Crawford, there's literally no way Crawford could cherry pick to become undisputed. And what happened? Crawford didn't even try. He went up to fight cherry pick Canelo. So Crawford could have challenged himself when he was at 54. He could have become undisputed. All his fans said it would have been easy, but he didn't. Also, 160. All Crawford fanboys, they will say right now, Crawford can come back out of retirement and be undisputed at 160. They're saying this like Crawford would even do this, like Crawford even say this. Crawford said out his mouth that Canelo He was gonna fight Canelo, then retire. Crawford had no plans to come down and fight Janabek, Carlos Adamas. Crawford had no plans to do so. But yeah, his fanboys and such, they're telling me that Crawford is going to do something that I know Crawford has no ability to do. Crawford has no ability to challenge himself. So why should I believe that he was going to go down to 160 and become undisputed within a year? Where he was going to fight Janabek and then fight Carlos Adamas and then become undisputed at middleweight. How am I supposed to imagine that when Crawford has never done that himself? Uh, And when he said Janabek, when Janabek supposedly tested positive, he said he didn't want to do anymore. Why? Why should Janabek tested positive ruin that shot? They're still champions. The champions are still there. You can still fight them. It's because Crawford doesn't want to do the heavy lifting. Crawford doesn't want to go in there and actually fight guys one by one by one. No, he just wants an easy run and fight the guy who did all the heavy lifting. That's all Crawford wants to do. Now, I would say Ryan Garcia saying this is kind of funny. I mean, you know, it's Ryan Garcia, man. He's a weird guy. But what he's saying about Crawford is for real. Crawford, a guy who hasn't really challenged himself. He never defended undisputed. Never defended undisputed. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Again, a lot of young guys at 154, 160, and 168. A bunch of guys that Crawford could have go ahead and fought. And I'm still calling for those fights, against Boots Ennis, of course, Virgil Ortiz. Yeah, Janabek, Carlos Adamas. Who's at 168? Iglesias. All these guys, all these guys. What's the hold up, Crawford? Bud Crawford, you know. What's the matter? Do you not want to actually challenge yourself? Come on, come on, man. So yeah, that's the uncomfortable truth about Crawford. It's a shame. It's a shame that he didn't ever really challenge himself, but it is what it is.